Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenyatta Johnson. I am President of City Council. I want to thank all of you for coming out to the Your Budget, Your City Town Hall. We thank all of you for taking time out of your schedule and engaging us in your ideas, your recommendations as we craft the 2026 City Council budget. At this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to two individuals who are the hosts for this evening, and then we'll have a budget presentation by our budget director, Ms. Helen Lawhead, and then we will get into our lively discussion on how we can craft a budget that reflects your issues, ideas, and or concerns. At this moment, with no further ado, I would like to introduce one of the hardest working city council members, my deputy whip in city council. I call her my big sister, hailing from Northwest Philadelphia. North? Well, she's from North Philly. But you know, when folks grow up in North Philly, and they move uptown, right? And once they move uptown, they got driveways and the South Philly, we got pigeons, they got birds and doves and all that type good stuff. But I've been knowing this young lady for many, many years, and she has a passion and commitment to advocate for the people. She's also on a mission of doing 30 meetings in 30 days, right? And so, with that being said, I'm going to introduce the leader of the 8th Councilmanic District, Councilmember Cindy Babb.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out on this Monday evening. I know there's many other places you could have been and other things that you could have been doing, so we don't take it lightly that you are here tonight. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your ideas and thoughts and suggestions for moving this budget forward. And it really does make a difference. Your voices are heard, and we do make adjustments accordingly. So I don't want you to think that being here is some sort of a theater experience or just a show. I want to take a quick second and recognize that we have in the house our very own state representative for this area, Darisha Miller Parker. Darisha, very hard-working state rep. And I also saw one of my ward leaders, Charles Carn from the 13th Ward up here. Hey, Charles. And is there anybody else from the 8th District? I don't think so. But listen, we all work hand in hand. This is not a me thing, it's a we thing. We can't get things done if we work by ourselves and in silos. It really requires each and every one of us to make a commitment to get out and to participate, whether it's in our PDAC. I see we have the Philadelphia Police Department represented, whether it's in our PDAC or our library council, our recreation council, our school council, our civic association. And I often tell people, you don't have to do all of those things, and you don't have to do even most of those things, but you have to do at least one of those things to be able to make a difference. We cannot come home at the end of the day, close our doors, and just hope that somebody's going to make things better. It really requires each and every one of us to participate. So thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Bass. I want to acknowledge who's also joining us this evening and pay attention to the people who took time out of their schedule to be here. And we are very, very busy. So if members aren't here, it isn't a reflection of them not want to be engaged in this process. It's just that we are running a very, very busy schedule. But however, I do want to acknowledge my majority leader, Councilman Captain Gilmore Richardson, who's here. Member at large, Councilmember Jim Harry is here. I call him the young lion from the 5th Councilmanic District. Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young is here. And I've had a great opportunity to also work with this gentleman. Actually, I met both of them through the Chaka Fatah camp as a young up-and-coming activist, which developed into me becoming an elected official. I met this gentleman at the Congressman Chaka Fatah Graduate Opportunities Conference. He was giving a presentation while he was the head of an organization called PCDC. And he gave me his business card and said, "How I can be supportive of you? Don't hesitate to let me know." And then next thing I know, while I was at the University of Pennsylvania, he gave me a job at the Philadelphia Company Store located at 16th and Cecil B. Moore Avenue. One of the hardest working elected officials I've known, always standing on business. At this moment, I would like to introduce from the 4th Councilmanic District, Council Member Curtis Jones Jr. Give him a round of applause, please.
Well, thank you for that. Mr. President, thank you for insisting that we come out to neighborhoods and talk to people and get a fresh perspective, because we think we know 50,000 feet up in the air, but they know with boots on the ground. So thank you for that. And so what I'd like to say is, first of all, welcome to the 4th District. Right across the street is the 8th District. Right down the street is the 5th District. So we are all one family here. What I want to say to you is that something happened in November and was consummated in January. Number 47, 2.0 was born. And I've been in town hall meetings with Member Bass, talking to people from the 8th and the 4th District about the need for us to pull together right now. Because if we don't hang together, we will hang separately. That we need to put aside old beefs and whatever it is, and right here at this level, at the community level, is where the action is. We have a slight surplus right now that can rapidly disappear with number 47's stroke of an executive order. And in this process of budgeting, we need to determine what we care about, what we will stand 10 toes down to fight about, whether it's housing, whether it's education, whether it's Social Security, to the degree that a city council can fight for it, but we can make noise about it. So we have the bully pulpit. So I got my ward leader here. Mark Green, are you here? Where are you at? Wave your hand. So there he is, right? I got one, and I'm one, so that's two. Ward leader of the 4th Ward. So we ain't by ourselves, Mark. And I have my staff here, because if there was a pothole that wasn't fixed or a tree that fell down, raise your hand, don't hide. The line can form at the rear to get those addressed. So thank you. I look forward to listening to the discussion.
Thank you very much. Member Jones, I want to also acknowledge the presence of State Senator Sharif Street. Give him a round of applause. I think Sharif like the Energizer Bunny. It's like every time I look up, he's at some event supporting somebody. So thank you very much for your hard work and your dedication. And also, I would be remiss before we get started if I didn't acknowledge Reverend Bonnie Camarada of the Salvation Army for opening up her doors. Give her a round of applause, please. Very, very beautiful building. And so before we turn the microphone over to Ms. Helen Lawhead, who's the budget director, so as this budget process works, the proposal that you will hear is just a proposal from the administration. So it's nothing set in stone. And so the mayor comes up with a proposal, a vision of what she would like to see. Members of the city council will also give our recommendations on what we would like to see. And we will come up with a compromise, and that's how we will come out with our final budget document. So what you're going to see is only a proposal. We have a technical staff that will be documenting your ideas, your recommendations, and we take that information back to our tech team and confirm with members of the city council as we negotiate the final product. And so it's our responsibility, as Majority Leader Gilmore Richardson always says, that we legislate and we appropriate the money, most importantly. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Budget Director Helen Lawhead. I also want to say happy Passover to everybody in here, and happy Holy Week if you're celebrating as well. With that being said, I'm turning it over to Budget Director Helen Lawhead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Council President. So we're going to go through a brief overview of the city's budget proposal, as the Council President said. So we'll talk through some of the highlights and some of the new spending that's included in this budget. But again, it's not a done deal. All the council members are here tonight to hear from you all about what's missing from that budget, what could be tweaked and changed. So first, we want to talk through on the next slide what is a city budget? So the city's budget each year is a yearly plan that shows how much money will be spent on different programs and services. And as you all know, how the city uses its resources impacts the lives of businesses, residents, and visitors. And on the next slide, we'll go through a few of the key terms that we're going to talk about throughout this presentation. So first of all, when we're talking about the city's budget, there are two main types of budgets. So there's an operating budget, and this pays for everyday services and programs. This includes things like our library programs and building inspections. It also covers personnel expenses like salaries, retirement, and benefits for city workers. We also have a capital budget, and this budget is used to fund big, long-term projects. These are things like building recreation centers or buying trash trucks. And we'll also talk and use the term fiscal year throughout the presentation, and you'll often hear that as we're talking about our budget. And a fiscal year is a 12-month period used for budgeting and financial reporting. And so when we're talking about the next fiscal year, which is fiscal year 2026, that will start on July 1, 2025 and run through June 30th, 2026. We're also going to talk through the city's revenues. These are funds collected by the city to finance operations during a fiscal year. And some of the main categories of our city's revenues are our taxes, our locally generated non-tax revenue. Those are things like fines and fees. Revenue from other governments, so that's the funds we get from the federal government, the state government, and then we also get some revenue from other city sources as well. When we talk about our expenditures, these are the monies that are spent by the city throughout the fiscal year to run our city's programs and services. And finally, we'll often talk about our fund balance. This is the amount of money remaining at the end of the fiscal year after accounting for all of our revenues and expenditures of the completed fiscal year. So this is really the money that the city has in the bank after the end of the year, after all of its spending has been completed. All right, and on the next slide, we'll talk through a few of the fiscal challenges that the city is currently experiencing. Councilmember Jones mentioned the federal uncertainty. The city is also in the process of negotiating all of its municipal contracts with its unions. We also have a lot of high ongoing costs for things like our debt or our pension payments that take up large portions of our city's budget. And then we also know we have to deliver high level of services to a lot of different types of people, and that puts a strain on our city's budget. To help us respond to some of these challenges and ongoing uncertainty, the city's making sure that there's enough reserves so that we have some savings, so that if things do go differently than we planned, we can tap into that savings and still continue to deliver services. All right, on the next slide, we'll talk through high-level budget highlights. So over the next 5 years, this budget proposal includes $2.3 billion in operating spending and $1.47 billion in new capital investments. And these are focused on some key priority areas like public safety, clean and green initiatives, economic opportunity, housing, education, and core support functions that help our government continue to function. And this proposal also includes tax rate changes that we'll talk through as well. And so there are some tax changes that we're looking at as investments for job creation. And so this budget proposes changes to Philadelphia's tax system, especially the high taxes on businesses and workers, which can often drive them away. And so these changes are aimed at helping the city become more competitive and attract businesses that create good jobs. And so this proposal includes reducing the business income and receipts tax, which is referred to as the BERT. And it also includes lowering the wage tax for our residents and our non-residents. And this total investment is about $210 million. This proposal also includes some changes to a current business tax exemption. And so there's currently an exemption for the first $100,000 in the business incomes and receipts tax. That exemption will go away in this proposal and will be replaced by a $30 million fund in our Commerce Department to help small businesses respond. There are also some tax changes that are going to be proposed to help fund the Mayor's Home Initiative. This is the housing plan. So there are some changes proposed to the construction impact tax to remove that tax. There is a proposal to increase the real estate transfer tax. So this increases the tax on property sales to help fund the new housing programs, and raising the document recording fee. This is a fee that is used to help fund the housing program as well. There are also some changes being proposed to tax changes for the school district. So there is a proposal to increase the portion of the real estate tax going to the schools from 56% to 56.5%. And that's really shifting how much the city keeps of that tax and how much it gives to the school district each year. And there's also a proposal to increase the parking meter rates by $1 in Center City for on-street parking. This will go directly to the school district as well. And so when we're looking at our operating budget for this upcoming fiscal year, which is fiscal year 2026, the city is looking to receive $6.3 billion in revenue and then spend a little bit more than that, around $6.7 million. And of that, $356 million is new spending that will be different from last year and is new for this upcoming year. Largest majority of that is going towards public safety, followed by economic opportunity. As we're looking at our capital budget, this proposal includes $337 million in new spending. The largest portion of that going towards public safety, as well as clean and green initiatives. Those make up the largest two chunks of that new spending. We'll talk through briefly some highlights. Again, these are just a few of the budget items that are included in the proposal. It does not include everything that's in the budget. That would take us a very long time to walk through, but just want to give you a taste of some of the highlights. So for public safety, the 5-year plan includes $745 million in operating funds, $288 million in capital investments for public safety. This includes funding for a new forensic lab, $25 million for anti-violence grants to support community and grassroots organizations, and then some other funding through our Vision Zero projects to create some more traffic calming measures as well as bike lane protections. In our clean and green category, some of the highlights here include funding for planters along commercial corridors to beautify streets and improve traffic safety, additional funding for our Office of Sustainability to support flood resilience projects, and again, some more highway beautification and maintenance funding, specifically for mural arts to help beautify our roadways. And altogether, we're looking at about $752 million in new investments in our capital program and around $65 million in our operating funds. As we look at plans and funding for economic opportunity for all, some of the highlights here include $10 million in workforce development through the city's College of Municipal Employment, additional funding for the Philadelphia Horticultural Society, as well as funding for a program for a planning study for Market East to help determine the future of the area, building on previous proposals for some of the economic development there. As we look at education, this plan includes an additional $12 million going to the school district. That will be from the shift in the real estate tax, an additional $11 million to expand the extended day, extended year program for our schools from 25 to 40 schools, and then $15 million over 5 years to help support the Community College of Philadelphia. And just want to note that all of this funding is on top of the more than $280 million that the city gives annually to the school district for its programming. In terms of housing, this proposal includes a plan to borrow a total of $800 million for the home initiative, Housing Opportunities Made Easy. And this will be financed through debt service. So this plan includes $263 million in debt service to pay off these bonds, and then additional support in our planning and development office to help make sure that these programs are successful. Additionally, this plan invests in our city's workforce. So there is $550 million in this plan set aside for our labor reserves. As I mentioned, the city is going through its union agreements for its labor contracts. And so we want to make sure that we have the funding available to support those contracts with our labor unions. Additionally, the plan includes funding for the wellness ecosystem. This is expanding some of the programming that is already in place, both for the operating and the capital funding. And then 2026 is going to be a big year for the city, so this plan also includes funding to help the city prepare all the events that are coming to our city in the upcoming year. And so again, these are some of the highlights from the budget, but we're really excited to hear from you all about what you want to see in the budget and what you think deserves some of the funding from our priorities. So I will turn it back over to the council president, and thank you.
Thank you very much. And Helen Law is actually the City Council Chief Financial Officer. Make sure I get your title right, Helen. We also have been joined by the councilwoman from the 7th Councilmember District, Councilman Kenyatta Lazada. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule and being here. So we want to turn the microphone over to you and also my two colleagues and for members to answer. And so I didn't mention that, we got, is Dogtown in the house? Haynes Street in the house? Brickyard in the house? Nicetown? Hilltop? Winfield? Westfield? Somerville? Come on, Daryl Schuler. Anybody ever been to a Daryl Schuler party? Back in the day? Let me keep it PC. In all seriousness, right? We're going to ask for you to come up to the microphone, right? We're going to give you 2 minutes to ask your question. Now, listen, this is what happens usually at these events, because oftentimes you may see us, but not all the time together. Now, you're going to have 2 minutes. Ask your question, right? We all need a thesis, a dissertation, right? And I know you got some things you probably want to get off your chest this evening, but also make sure you ask your question and just be respectful of the next person that wants to come up, because we're here for a particular point in time. We want as many people as possible to ask their question. We're also being joined by Councilwoman Dr. Nina Ahmad. Can we give her a round of applause as well? And so we're going to ask you to please come to the microphone. We have 2 microphones right here, and the Sergeant at Arms will also assist you in this process. We have 2 lines on both sides. And the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, and thank you very much for coming to North Philly. My name is Corbelia Devine, and I'm just interested in finding out regarding the clean and green. Can you give us an idea as to the how that amount differs from what the prior years was, if it's increased or not? And then with the education budget, can you let us know whether or not community schools is included in that amount, or if that's the amount that you indicated how much you already give to the school district? And then I had another question. I got 2 minutes already. Wrote them all down. And do you have an idea as to the amount of the increase on the tax on property sales that's going to be helping the real estate properties tax amount?
Yeah, so I can start by answering your question that the Clean and Green Initiatives is an increase over last year's spending in that category. And then in terms of the education funding, so there is funding for the community schools. However, it is at the same level as it was in prior years. It's not proposing to expand that amount. And then on the real estate tax, so that will shift the amount that goes to the school district, and it's going to increase the amount that goes to the school district by $12 million. And that will start in fiscal year 2030. So that's 5 years from now is when that shift will start.
And Helen, could you elaborate on the mayor's proposal regarding extended day schools? How many schools that are part of her budget proposal for extended day?
Yep. So the mayor is proposing to increase the funding that goes to the school district for the extended day program, and that's going to shift from 25 to 40 schools, serving around 9,700 students. This is before and after school care, as well as during breaks and in summer, and that is an increase of around $11 million to support that expansion.
Go ahead, young lady.
Hi, everyone. I'm Latrice Webb. I'm the founder and executive director of the Elevation Project. We're a reentry program. Our office is in the 4th District. Hi, Councilman Jones. But we serve all of Philadelphia. I have seen probably about between state reps, senators, and council people, at least 3 or 4 elected officials at an event that I have twice a year. It was funded by the city through the Promise. I don't know if you all are aware, but the Promise has not funded these events for the upcoming year. So that means record clearing clinics that have become a big thing in the city, they will stop as of July 1st. And so my question, and it's just, will you all consider funding community groups so we can continue to do this work? The Elevation Project has had at least 300 to 400 people attend our clinics and meet with an attorney. The last one that Councilman Young and Councilman Jones and the senator was at had over 700 people attend and 200 people meet with a lawyer. So I would just ask that you all would continue to fund that work, but funnel the money through community organizations because the Promise left, but we're not going anywhere.
First of all, thank you. And the reason I say thank you is because every time I go to one of your block parties where you make it fun to help somebody with their record, people that you would walk by and not think had a record. They go to work every day. They're pillars in their community, but they got into some type of trouble in their life. And they have that scarlet letter over their head. At the last event I'm at, or it was on Parkside, I believe, and we were walking around, and I see my cousin. Now, she's my cousin, if you know it. That cousin. And I'm telling her, hey, how you doing? You get some barbecue, da 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 da. What you doing here? Oh, remember that time I was in college? Got caught, and you helped her. So I have proposed in the budget that July doesn't end with you. I've asked my colleagues to consider supporting what you do. And the people don't just come from my district, they come from all over the city to get your help. So we will see.
You know, I want to add one other thing to it, which is that you did our event as well. We did an event over at Panatti Playground last summer.
Yeah, we probably Daryl Schuler had all those people out there.
Well, you know, Daryl knows a lot of people. Daryl knows a lot of people. But we had probably over 500 people out there just because there were a lot of activities happening that day. It was a family fun day, as the councilman said. You know, you made it something that was a family affair, a family event. And so I just, again, want to say thank you for the work that you do, because we wouldn't have been able to have that event if it wasn't for the funding that you received. And so obviously that's something that's very much high on our list. So thank you so much for all you do. And there's so much more that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
How you doing?
So wait a minute, right? This gentleman uptown guy, right? I'm gonna get right to the point. This guy is going all around our country, representing the city of Philadelphia. Not only as a credible messenger, but somebody who's an advocate for returning citizens, somebody who's an advocate for helping young men put their guns down, as an advocate of making sure we create a country of peace, not guns. So I just want to acknowledge you for your hard work, your dedication. I know you're getting an award, right? And it's always inspiring when you see young men that come from our neighborhoods, that come from our backgrounds, that elevate. And they're not only in the city of Philadelphia, they're always going throughout the country and using their lived life experience to help the next individual. So I just want to acknowledge you publicly for your hard work and your dedication. Go ahead, Jamie.
Thank you. Now I want to acknowledge you three champions for always being at the forefront of public safety. With that being said, in the northwest section of Philadelphia, from January to September of 2023, there were 60 shootings, 23 fatal, right? January to September 2024, as a direct result of us partnering with the likes of Councilwoman Cindy Bass in the Northwest District, partnering with Senator Art Hayward, we were able to bring a lot of organizations together that used to be working in silos, right? We brought them together, we discussed best practices, and we created an environment where even though we all have different voices, we knew that we all were able to coexist in the same room. So as a direct result of that collaboration, the same year there were 45 shootings, that's 15 less from the previous year, and 11 fatal, right? Now, I say that to say, I looked at the budget, and the budget said there was $25 million allocated to community-based organizations. My question to City Council is that one murder is in anywhere between $1 million and on a high end $2 million per murder. A shooting is between $800,000 and $1 million. So as a direct result of these collaborations, working with law enforcement, working with hospitals, working with grassroots organization, we were able to save the city over $40 million in the Northwest District. My question is that in order for us to double and maybe even triple these outcomes, we need more money towards grassroots organizations. And then the other point is that one of the things that I realized, and I want to acknowledge you all for actually giving us that money, but the other portion of it is for us to work at capacity, we have to invest money into helping these organizations scale up. We have to professionalize this space, because if we're giving these people this money and don't teach them how to manage it or capacity build, then we're not going to have the outcomes that we're looking for. So my question is, we need more money so we can capacity build, and we need more money for these organizations to scale up. Thank you.
And this will be the last one other than Daryl Shule over there. But Prentice Boone, right? Another gentleman who's inspiring and empowering with his junior barber school and encouraging young people to become apprentices in the barbershop. And most folks know, I'm sure Councilman Jones would say, for us, I can't speak for the ladies, but for us, the barbershops is very therapeutic for us, right? The barbershop pretty much is our place where we can go and talk about the very issues of life, right? And inspire the next generation of young people. And so just wanted to say, continue to keep up the good work. And I know you've been around the world, particularly with your profession, with your young people, and very, very humble, right? Never looking for accolades, but I just want to acknowledge you from that aspect, and then we continue to dialogue.
Thank you so much, President. I came here to talk about it. My name is P. Michael Boone. I run a program called the Junior Barber Academy. I just realized, and forgive me for this, I fell into Curtis Jones District, because now I created my Barber Academy from North Philly, and I brought it into a safer space on Main Street. So I will be reaching out to you and your team to help continue. But now I'm taking these young people to the next step. I want them to become taxpaying citizens in the United States. I mean, in Philadelphia especially. And if it wasn't for somebody allowing me to sweep up in the barbershop and obtain to be able to watch what it looks like to be a career as a barber and to now becoming a citizen that's paying taxes, I'm taking them to the next level to where it's going. I want these young people to be licensed, and I also want them to also continue to do community service work like we do for Tariq Street and his community events, doing free haircuts, because that's the pillar of what we teach, but also to learn about the land and politics. And so teaching my young people about the importance of voting when they turn 18. So a lot of my students now are starting to graduate high school, and they looking at me like, Mr. P, what's next? And so because now I'm able to meet amazing people like yourselves, I'm able to tell them, hey, come out to some of these events here who you'll be voting for next. And then hopefully transition them into the workforce. So that gentleman said everything that I wanted to say. So I'm going to just take a seat right now, but I want to say thank you so much for everything that you guys do. Thank you.
Excuse me. The chair recognizes Councilmember Dr. Nina Ahmad.
I just wanted to ask as you're building information skills and wealth in the community you're serving, do you have resources like accountants, lawyers, making sure that they have the business skills as they want to grow and have offshoot? I wanted to know what sort of support you have there.
Absolutely. So I did do a curriculum, and I sat down with a team of lawyers, team of teachers, team of educators, and we sat and built a wealth building curriculum that's an entrepreneur piece included inside of it. So it teaches on the social emotional learning. It gives them all of those implementations along with the barbering trade to make sure they know what to do with the money that they're making, which will most likely be cash out. So yes, we do have that in place, but we can always use more.
Councilmember Jeffrey J. Young.
Yeah, and so thank you, Mr. President. And just to touch a point on the $25 million that is specifically managed by the Office of Public Safety. That is not to say that this is the only money that is dedicated toward these types of initiatives. There is other pots of money, other grants that are administered by different departments that handle, anti-violence, youth engagement, things like that. So this is just specifically grants that are managed by the Office of Public Safety, and there are other opportunities for organizations to apply for grants through other service departments as well.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Mason. I'm NET coordinator over at GPAS. A lot of people also know me from my radio life, the owner of Heat100radio.com. What I wanted to say today is, in listening to the budget, there was the $1 increase on parking. One of the things that I'm hearing in my new position at GPAS as a NET coordinator is the parking issues of people, not just the residents, but the business owners, as well as the people that are trying to shop. And I feel like if we raise the parking meters by $1, it's going to hurt our businesses, because now people aren't going to be coming because they don't want to get ticketed because they can't afford to park. It's going to hurt people as far as getting back and forth to work, because it's going to cost them more money now to park for work. And it's also going to hurt the residents who have the permit parking, that when they come home, there's nowhere for them to park other than metered parking, because someone who either works there or is shopping there is parking in their residence. So is there any way we can find another way that we don't increase the parking by $1? And that's all I have to say, because these gentlemen, it seems like they have more pressing issues, and I love to see our Philadelphia men step up to the plate and really care about this city.
Councilmember Young and Councilmember Harris.
Yes, so just about the parking, that $1 increase is only in Center City. That does not affect the outlying neighborhoods. That is only in Center City. So yes, it does still have an effect on some of that shopping in the district. However, it does not. It would not have too much of an effect on your residential permit parking and things like that. It's only in our city's core where that increase take effect.
But here's what's going to happen to that as well, because I was just in Center City for a play, and I was 30 minutes late seeing that play because I was driving around trying to find a parking spot, and there was nowhere for me to park, because a lot of people were either parking in the residential places that are permit parking only, or they had already taken up the garage parking, and there was nowhere to actually park other than meter parking. So we were able to find one. But I think it's also, if we increase it even in Center City, that's going to really have people not wanting to go to shows anymore, not wanting to go shop in the gallery. So I really think that if we could find some other way, it's just $1. I know it adds up, but if we could find some other way not to increase the meter parking, would be great. And I think a lot of people would really feel it if we do.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Aaron Mines. I live in the 5700 block of 19th Street. I live in the 5700 block of 19th Street. I'm calling because I come here because we have a foundation wall behind my house. They claim that I own that wall. Now, I was an engineer in the military. I'm a disabled veteran. How can I own a wall that's a foundation wall that's holding up 20th Street? Couldn't understand that one. Now, if you can make me understand it, then I'll pay for the wall. But I didn't understand that. Now, up on top of the wall, they told me I own on top of the wall too. I can't even get up there. So I try to explain to somebody, if I tear the wall down so I can use my area up there, whole 20th Street gonna come down on me. Make it make sense to me. Could y'all, any of y'all sit up there and make that make sense to me?
So I would say, that's my district. I'll come out and take a look at the wall.
I appreciate that.
I would be happy to come out and take a look at the wall. I don't want to say it's a retaining wall. I don't know what this wall is, but retaining walls are the responsibility of the property owner. But we will come out. It is a part of your property. But I don't know that this is a retaining wall. That's why I'm saying let me come out, take a look, and see exactly what we're talking about here. Now, let me just finish this one point. One of the problems that I think that has been problematic is that the city of Philadelphia has allowed insurers to sort of get away with not being responsible for that part of our property. If you have a comprehensive homeowners policy, in theory, it really should cover the issue with the retaining wall. I think the part of the problem is that there's, everybody might not have the same level of coverage to cover that retaining wall, which generally stretches, for a block or maybe a half a block. It may affect several houses. It usually doesn't affect just one house. But we will be happy to come out and take a look. And the last thing I want to add is that this council actually was brave and bold enough to say, we're going to help you with those retaining walls and actually put the funding in to fix the wall. So regardless of whose wall it is, if we are able to put the funding into it, and I believe that we have how much going into it? We're working on the exact amount now, but we know that retaining walls need to be addressed and that we are putting the funding in, that Philadelphia City Council, these folks here, are putting the money in to get those kinds of issues addressed.
And besides that, I was on the Fairmont Park Advisory Council for years. And any open area in city belongs to the Fairmont Park Department, not to nobody else. Yes. An open area, or any open park area that was open in the park. Now, the park department used to handle that area up on top of the hill. If you look in the archives, in city books, you'll see that the city used to own that area. I looked at it. Check the archive. Then get back with me.
So,
Can I just ask you, before you go, please see Kenny over here, Thompson from my office, to make sure he gets your address so we can come out and take a look at it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
so that's one retaining wall. There are thousands throughout the city of Philadelphia. And through the president's office, we found out there was a promise made under Councilman Michael Nutter to fix the retaining wall. Today's number, Janae, I think that wall might be $1.7 million to fix. And there are thousands of them. So we have to figure out holistically, because they're aging. I think it was, there's a street up in your area, Mark Green, where we had to reinforce. It's owned by the railroad. We had to put wire up and mesh up so that the homes wouldn't sink onto the tracks. So this infrastructure problem is a citywide problem. We gotta figure out the money for, because the construction cost of one retaining wall is in the millions. So we got to figure it out. It's something we can't keep kicking the can down the road for.
And we have completed a significant amount of them to date, right? But some need more resources than others, depending on their type. But it is something that we have been working on, and I think we're splitting up this last $50 million in retaining walls is a part of that conversation. But until we see it, we can't really make an assessment on the level of need to actually, of resource that we need to actually address it.
Good afternoon. Leroy Eldridge. I'm in Southwest Germantown. I call it the suburbs of Germantown. But my concern is someone is opening up a business on our block, and it's a halfway houses, bringing children in, and did not go through the proper channels. They tried to do it 2 years ago. They were shut down. So they didn't. The second time around, they just think they can skirt through it. I've been in contact with Cindy's office, and I talked to Kenny Thompson. I didn't know, never met him, so we're going to meet after this. But the concern is she's already operating now. They have children in there. They're playing in our driveways. And we really don't know what's going on. So we need help to clarify this situation.
Thank you. So we will follow up. Please make sure you connect again with Kenny tonight. And if you can hang around, I'd like to speak to you at the end of the meeting if you're able to stay.
Thank
you.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Clyde Sanders, part of City Committee. I represent 29-6. Coming to you tonight regarding squatters' rights. Now, I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You know, I get as many people out to vote as possible. I need to know exactly what is being done because I've had talks with, a few people on the board about this issue, and I was told something and nothing has ever been delivered about it. But I have to pay the taxes on the property, have to pay the water bill on the property, and also if I have a mortgage on the property, I have to pay that. And the whole time I can't collect any revenue off of the property. So if there is truly a plan that's in place about the squatters' rights, could you please make the public aware of it? Because again, this is a public nuisance.
Listen, so we are not one type of council. We have varying different views on the same problem. And through the president's leadership, I feel bad for him sometimes. He's got to navigate how we view a problem. So in one hand, we want to protect renters, legitimate leaseholding renters. In another hand, we have to protect property owners, people who worked all their life for their investment property, inherit the property, put the money into fix it up, only to find someone moved in, stole their property or leased their property or won't remove themselves. There's got to be a balance. And as we look at laws that are coming before us, what I always say to, that there has to be balance. And we had a long housing hearing, President, you were there, and I said that, there are activists that fight for the squatters. You're the first, not the first, but one of the few people that come out and talk about this problem. And if we are ever going to have generational wealth, I can't leave this job to my kids. I can leave an investment property that I've fixed up so that they can have a better shot at the American dream. We got to protect both. And if it keeps going as I've heard people frustrated with, like, I'm going to put them out. No, you cannot. We have laws that protect them. And we got to find a balance of that. So I heard you with my good ear. All right?
And I got one real quick one, right? And the city council lawyer gentleman right here, John Christmas. And John, when you get a chance, can you pull, I know we did pass a bill when Councilman David O was here, right? That actually took away some of the rights from the squatters. Because to me, we call them squatters, but it's just criminal. Let's just call it what it is. It's criminal. If you have a house and you go on vacation or you go to visit a family member somewhere, like let's say down south, and you come back 2 months later and somebody in my house, that's criminal because it ain't yours. So the whole squatter right, and he's Councilmember Jones is right. There's some folks who are going to say, "Oh no, no, it's criminal." We're going to work with the cops to get them out and get them prosecuted because that's your hard-earned investment. And so I'm going to turn over to Councilman Bass, but I do remember Councilman O. It was a very, very trying bill because I had a constituent who had investment property, and she was on me to make sure I voted for this bill. What a Republican. She was on me to make sure I voted for the bill. And it was controversial, but I voted because, one, my constituent wanted me to make sure I voted for it. It was important to her, but it was the right thing to do. You can't just go squat in somebody's house and fix the house up and put the electric and gas in your name and the water, and all of a sudden it's your house. It's not your house. You stole a house, and it's a crime to do such. So I support you. I'm going to turn it to Councilman Cindy Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to I was going to make the same point that there was a bill in the last council term that was authored by Councilman David O. And then there was a bill that came after that, which sort of, gutted it a little bit, which, many of us did not vote for. I did not vote for the second bill, which took away the rights of the property owner. But I think that it now is the time to bring that bill back, the original bill back. But what I will say is I'm more than willing to bring it back. But what I will say is that when we bring it back, you have to show up. People have to come to testify because the lobbying on the other side is going to be fast and furious to take your property. So you have to show up. People have to come out and say what is important because even though it seems like something that's very much common sense,
All sense ain't common.
Listen, common sense ain't common, as you just said. And so, just imagining, for any one of us coming home, like the council president said, coming home and somebody's now living in your house. You've been on vacation for a week and it happens. It happens much more frequently than it should. And for some of us, we can call, you might be able to call somebody and get them out your house. Probably not the right way, probably not the legal way. Call Daryl up. Maybe you can get them out for you. Maybe you can get them out for you. But seriously, like some, this is a very serious issue, and doing it the legal way and the right way versus someone who did it the wrong and illegal way. It's always a challenge when you're doing things the right way, but we stand with you and we'd be happy to consider bringing back that bill.
And if I may, I just want to let the public know, like, some of the things that's happening regarding this. We get calls on this issue.
I know he's a lawyer in the city council, just for the record.
And so I've represented clients, doing these ejectments, trying to get people out of the property, and it takes 6 months at least to get people out of a property. And at the same time, you still got to pay your mortgage, you still got to pay the water bill, the gas bill, things like that. So my office has been looking into ways where we can potentially try to see if a property owner can show that this person is squatted in their property, that they can at least be provided some relief from the municipal bills that are in place. Because it's not your fault that your water bill is being ran up the sky with a trespasser. Essentially, that's what they are. They're trespassers. And one thing that we have to do is talk to our police about training them to really identify who is a trespasser and who is just a disgruntled tenant, right? Sometimes if you have a lease, you do have a right to still remain in that property and go through the proper channels if that person was a tenant at some point. But if they were never a tenant, we have to make sure we streamline that process to get those folks out of the properties. One thing that folks are doing now is saying that, someone gave me this lease to move in here. So they're making up fake leases in order to say they were a tenant so the cops can't just get them out the property. So we have to develop some protocols with our police to help them identify which is, a legitimate lease and which is not. And that's something that my colleagues up here, you see, something that we're very interested in doing to making sure that you all get the relief you need. I know Rep. Parker, this is something that she's cared about for the past couple of years. We've been talking about it. So we want to make sure we help provide some of that relief back to those property owners because, again, your bills don't stop because somebody's squatting in your property.
Thank you.
It is other ways, but I'm a lawyer, so I can't advise you on those other ways. But I think, Clyde know how to get the other ways.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. My name is Constance Bellinger, and I live on the 5300 block of 16th Street. and I'm the block captain. And I also live near Wakefield Park. And I want to know, do y'all have anything in your budget for the trees? Because the trees are crumbling in the park. And that's why I moved to that neighborhood, is because it was beautiful when I moved in there. And now the trees are not being cared for. It's not just the trees, it's the leaves, it's a lot. And even though we might come out and clean up the leaves, the park is not our responsibility. The park is the, I guess, the parking commission's responsibility, but we have to clean up. Those leaves are causing all kinds of problems. Mold is growing over there now because it's so many of them, and they build up, and it's unbelievable. Also, they've been the drain pipe, and the drain pipe, it, it's
Can I
just
answer your
unbelievable.
question,
Yeah.
Yes, there is. The mayor does have funding on her Clean and Green initiative to Parks and Rec
Yeah.
to address the trimming of trees as well as the cleaning up of leaves. So yes, that is going to be addressed in this
Okay.
upcoming budget.
All right. So
Ma'am?
will they come to our neighborhood? Like, you know how they do in the other neighborhoods where they put the leaves all in one pile and
Yes,
then
ma'am.
and then
That is
and
a
then they
project.
come and suck them up? Well,
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
like because I'm 70 and I've been cleaning that street for 20 ever since I moved into the neighborhood. And I'm like, enough. I want the same thing I see in other neighborhoods to come to my neighborhood, clean them leaves up.
Absolutely. So
Thank you.
before we leave, please make sure we have your block information. We'll make sure that they go through. And if you find that when we get into the fall, if they
Okay.
haven't come through, just reach out to us and let us know. We'll make sure
I
that we send them
appreciate
in.
it. Thank you so much, and
Absolutely.
I appreciate y'all being here.
Absolutely. And that's Councilwoman Kathy
Yeah,
Gilmore.
yes, ma'am. I just wanted to respond to your question regarding the trees. In addition to ensuring that you follow up with the district council person, in the budget, proposed budget for this year, for the next fiscal year, we anticipate that around 3,000 trees will be pruned, planted, or taken care of. We also had a federal grant that we were able to receive for $11 million for trees in the city of Philadelphia. Initially, that grant was taken away by the new federal government, but we've been able to receive some of those funds recently. So we are receiving a few million from the federal government specifically for the tree plan. And then under the bill that I did, for any trees that are removed, developers have to replace the tree or pay into a tree fund to help with tree upkeep and care.
That
Okay?
sounds real good.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. Thank you.
And I just want to remind everybody, we'll stick to the 2 minutes because we have a nice line and want everybody to get a chance to get their comments in.
Good evening. My name is Ernest Turner. My concern is recreation for the youth in our city. Clean and green. I'm interested in seeing more green space for our youth. We talk about violence and things that our youth can positively partake in. I don't think there's enough money being invested in our youth in recreation space. As a child living in North Philadelphia, I saw green space, recreation space sold to Temple University under the promise that the neighborhood would be able to use it. Needless to say, it didn't exactly go like that. My question specifically is in reference to a dilapidated playground recreation center that sat at the corner of Larissa and Hunting Park. My question is, how does a dilapidated recreation center become privatized, sold to an organization, and then after that point, that recreation center is no longer available to the surrounding neighborhood that already has a severe lack of green space, a severe lack of recreation space for our youth?
So you're referring to the Shane Victorino Boys and Girls Club? Is that what you're referring to?
I'm referring to the playground that the Shane Victorino Boys and Girls Club was allowed to purchase from the city,
That
as
was,
this playground no longer is available to the residents of the community.
to my understanding, and this is, well, I'll just say as long as I've been in council. And before that, when I worked for the congressman, because I remember when Shane Victorino, when the Boys and Girls Club did all of the renovations, renamed it and all of that. And at that point, that was in the mid 2000s. It was part of the Shane Victorino. It was part of the Boys and Girls Club. So I don't know that it ever was formally a part of the city's Parks and Recreation program. I see the ward leader, longtime resident Charles Karn is up next, so maybe he could also speak to that. But to the best of my understanding and knowledge, that was never part of the Parks and Recreation inventory, that playground. It was always a part of the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay. Based on information that I have.
Thank you, bro. Could y'all do a follow-up? Because we want to get through the line. It was never part of the Boys and Girls Club, so maybe y'all can connect and kind of match information, if that's okay?
Sure, but
all right,
that's incorrect. That
But-
is never part of the city.
But y'all two gonna follow up on that. But we do hear you loud and clear in terms of more investment for green space and activities for our young people as well. So we heard that loud and clear. Please ask your question too, Mr. Karn.
3 minutes because I'm gonna answer that one. That field was the Hatfield field. They donated it to the Boys and Girls Club. It was never part of the city. Now, I'm living there for 40 years. So like I know that. They got it locked up, but we're working with them on that. First thing, my councilwoman, Cindy Bass, I want to thank you for all these issues we deal with the RCOs. If the community doesn't want a change and these high-priced lawyers, zoning lawyers, and I can run them off real quick for you, the names, they come and they go down to the ZBA and saying, well, if the community votes not to want it, how can the RCO, the ZBA board and planning commission, I don't know where they're coming from. Now all of a sudden, now you ask for $25 million for another planning department. And I don't understand. We fought 15 years to get single family homes in this community right here. I live right here. Now, everybody, developers and all, are buying properties. They want to split them up and do what they can with them. And we go down there, we send a letter saying, look, right, we done had our required meetings. The lawyers, real sharp people though, right? They're telling the wrong stories about what's going on. So again, many of the times the ZBA is approving the changes. Now, for as long as you've been in office, we've been fighting the RCO up here at 13th Ward. And we asked the community to come out, get online, and I got a whole lot of people here for the same things. And these folks and these plans and these zoning changes create a problem. So again, I appreciate your office for sticking with the community.
Thank you.
Okay, that's one thing. That's one. He only gave me 3 minutes. But the other one is, how the heck can my real estate taxes go up as much as they are? Because first of all, look, you can't tell me, look, right? I'm like Councilman Jones. He's got investment property for the kids, right? But the property, and you go down 6 and Arch, I think that is, you go up in that room and you want to protest your taxes going up and stuff, right? They don't listen to you. You know what? That's just a pass through. Nah, Mr. Karn, right? We're doing all this development over here and we're doing this and that. Yeah, damn lie. Because first of all, I see everything going on around there and they say for a mile either way, right? But the whole thing comes down to my taxes was, I'm going to say 1,000, whatever it was or something. Next thing you know, it jumped in 1 year to like 2,500. So you tell me, can I keep that property and I can't get no money from my kids in the property? So that's a problem. So the whole thing is, there's got to be a better way for those real estate taxes to evaluate our properties. All right, that's all.
So, how do I put this? When I first got here, which is many moons ago now, they used to have to come every year to city council to adjust the millage rate so that they could figure how much money that what they needed to get to operate this city. Some bright individual, a mayor, will remain nameless, figured out that actual value initiative, I don't have to go before city council to adjust the millage rate, I can just go through neighborhoods and say the value has increased. So the fraction doesn't have to move. The value did move. And they've been getting us. And so I've introduced, along with my colleagues, to look at every year mandatory look at the actual value initiative, see how much money they need to operate, how much money they've improved the rate of taxes to adjust downward, to give the people a break on those taxes. Because if we don't do that in every part of town, I used to think it was a President Johnson problem down in South Philly. I said, well, that's South Philly. You know, that's good. I thought it was a Member Young problem. That's Temple, North Philly. But when they took over Penn Win, when they took over places in my district, I said, oh, that's my neighborhood that they're gentrifying. And Kathy Gilmore Richardson works with me all the time about these subtle changes. And we're going to take a look at the math of how they increase the actual value compared to cutting down the millage rate to give people a break. Stay tuned.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Parker. I'm one of the co-founders and producers of Philadelphia Fashion Week. This year we're celebrating 20 years of helping businesses develop, providing major opportunities, resources, business workshops. We also opened Maison Philly Factory, which is the retail arm of our business, which gives our independent designers the opportunity to have a retail landscape. And a lot of our designers have made more money in the last year with our Maison Philly Fashion Week than they had their entire careers. So with that, the fashion community is often underfunded, and that reflects in the retail landscape as well. A number of my friends who were also independent designers, but they were also retailers, lost their businesses during the pandemic, and we haven't seen any of that return. We also saw Macy's go away. And with that, we're also major partners with Fashion District Philadelphia. We host youth programming every year where we do arts and business workshops with our youth. I'm also the chair of the Fashion and Garment Industry Task Force that City Council made official in 2022. We did a number of hearings. The creator of New York Fashion Week is my mentor. She also helps us with our programming. We're also affiliated with the Council of Fashion Designers of America, which is one of the largest fashion organizations on the planet, who helps us with our programming for our entrepreneurs to grow and scale their businesses. I'm not sure if you know, but New York Fashion Week alone has more economic impact than the Super Bowl. Just during New York Fashion Week alone, and it happens twice per year. As the producer of Philly Fashion Week, we see international designers come and showcase with us because of their risk on return on investment and showcasing the New York Fashion Week. So they come here, they bring their investors here, they bring their buyers here, and a lot of our local designers get those opportunities as well. The fashion community is hugely underfunded. We also created a report which was also unanimously approved and adopted by City Council, but no funding went to it. And I'm continuously doing this work. I started this when I was just 19 years old with no money, purely just ambition. And as a young entrepreneur, I want to feel like my city is supporting me because I am representing for the city on a global basis. I am connected to people that most entrepreneurs can't even connect to. And with that being said, what kind of conversations are being had around the fashion community and retail? And also, how are you creating a economic development plan for Market East when the fashion community is not involved, where we can literally give you the plans that we already have that have been developed and approved by City Council, but nobody's listening to us now. So how can we work together to make our city better?
Well, one, and I know you reached out to me a while ago, not regarding this particular plan, but just touching base on one another. So there's only no other Kevin Parkers from South Philly, Ms. Tootsie. So when you said Kevin Park, I'm like, all right, cool. If you give us a copy of the report, like each and every last one of us within our own right, we'll take a look into it. And then also, I'm glad you talked about Market East. And so I know as the mayor put together her proposal, then maybe we recommend that they take a look at the work that already has been started as it relates to the development of Market East and the fashion district. And so we'll make that commitment. You can reach out again to my guy, John Christmas, but also other members up here, make sure they get your information and we can all collectively work on and seeing how the fashion industry can be a part of how we revitalize the city of Philadelphia and be supportive as well. Because I did with the Belargos, the Novellos, you know,
See, but
there was folks.
the main
But
issue is though when
we,
most designers reach a certain level of success, they move out of the city. And the thing
well,
is, we're trying to retain that
I think
talent.
the issue is if we be more supportive, they won't move outside the city. So that's what we got to do a better job.
But see, some of them do reach success where they become millionaires and things like that, and they move out of the city.
We can have a longer conversation on that because we got a long line. But if you get that information to us, I'll make sure we follow up on that. Keep up the good work, Kevin, as well. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening. If you can hear me, clap once. All right. If I'm looking good, clap again. All right. My name is Elder Melanie DeBose. I am pastor of Evangel Chapel in the North Philadelphia community. I work in Councilmembers District 5. I sleep in Councilmembers District 8. I am concerned about the entire issues of the city of Philadelphia. In addition to being a local pastor, I am also a member of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. We are designated to give oversight to the behaviors of our men and women in blue. We are not anti-police. We are pro-justice. But we have found that our men and women in blue have difficulty policing themselves. We are asking City Council, while you're considering your budget, to move some of the funds that you have appropriated to risk management into the budget to increase the authority and the ability for CPOC, the Citizens Police Oversight Commission, to function more freely because of an increased budget. What does that mean? Stop paying the bills for police officers that exercise inappropriate behavior towards the residents. Stop bailing them out with millions of dollars. Appropriate that money to CPOC, and we will actively be the oversight commission that we are appointed to be, and we will execute the authority in our legislation to make sure that the actions of the police are accountable, transparent, and we will exercise our investigatory powers. We're asking for preventive funds so that you can stop paying a zibbity billion dollars to compensate people for the misappropriation and the misbehavior of our men and women in blue. Move that money.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm going to turn this over to the creator of police oversight in the city of Philadelphia, Councilman Curtis Jones Jr.
We hear you. We hear you, Elder Melanie, and I appreciate you coming out today and pointing out the problems that we face every fiscal year. When somebody does something wrong in blue, we pay for it, me and you. Those tax dollars, in order to settle that case, wind up coming out of our pockets. So the better behavior, the less we wind up paying. The other thing that I think is very important is that there's a contract being negotiated as we speak that would give the Police Oversight Commission the ability to do independent investigations. So every time when there's a shooting, a member of CPOC shows up. You may not know that. They're on the scene. They're checking it out. We've had our George Floyd moments post George Floyd here. And if it was not for the belief that this commission kept fair eyes on these issues, things could have been worse. So thank you, Elder Melanie. The president heard your budget request, and there you go.
And thank you. And thank you, Councilmember Jones, for your leadership. Go ahead.
Good evening. Robert Young Jr. I'm representing Sankofa Housing Initiative Project. It is a grassroots workforce development focusing on revitalization and resocialization. My first question is a quick one. It's a yes or no. What good is a job training program when it doesn't lead to living wage jobs? Secondly, given Pennsylvania's legal restriction on taxing nonprofits, how can Philadelphia more effectively leverage pilots, that's the acronym, close tax loopholes for commercial university properties, and build political pressure to reform state laws, while ensuring these institutions still contribute their fair share to city services and workforce development?
So the first part of your question, right? It depends on when you talk about workforce development, right? This budget is investing heavily in how we make sure that we're focusing on through our commerce and workforce initiatives, specifically on not only just good paying jobs, but career oriented jobs. So that's number one. I know the mayor has a municipal college at Community College in Philadelphia that have people come in on an entry level as a pathway to get a good paying city owned job.
The metrics on that says 6-month retention instead of, let's say, 3 to 5 year retention for us careers.
Yeah, well, listen, in terms of her proposal that she has, it's still a pathway for individuals to become gainfully employed inside the city of Philadelphia. Because you gave an open-ended question. We're not going to go back and forth. Okay. I'm just giving from my perspective. Maybe you follow her office to get the details in terms of her proposal. Similarly, separate from the municipal college at the Community College of Philadelphia, we also obviously are working to make sure we continue diversifying the trades, right? That's a part of it where individuals also have a pathway to a career and more than what I call a good sustaining working job. In terms of the pilots, I think that's up to members of the city council to have a discussion on if they want to go in that direction. And that's something that's still up to debate if people want to move forward and make the university in the city of Philadelphia pay pilot taxes. 3,000. So the other part of the question was us addressing the vacancies that we have here in the city of Philadelphia. 3,000. And so we're doing an aggressive recruitment campaign, working in partnership with the administration to help individuals. So people always say, well, there's no jobs. There's no jobs. There's jobs. We need people to go and actually participate and actually apply for the jobs. And so I always would challenge anyone when they say there aren't any good paying jobs. I don't have a problem
in this city. You have 5 jobs for 100 residents. 5 jobs per 100 residents. And you have at least 5 zip codes that you can name. I can name that have at least 5 to 10. That is crazy if you think about it.
Well, thank you very much for that information, sir. Yes, next.
Thank you. Thank you, council members and staffers and all of the neighbors who showed up tonight. I'm going to echo previous neighbors who spoke about trees, green parks, and rec spaces. I'm a volunteer with Friends of Vernon Park since 2012. I work with my neighbors to help take care of the park here in Germantown to make it feel clean and green and welcoming for everyone. Thank you, Councilwoman Bass, for all your support over the years, both in Vernon Park, but also citywide as committee chair for Parks and Rec. So we're part of a network of over 140 other park, all volunteer groups in Parks and Rec's Park Friends Network. And I'm here to say that healthy parks are required for a truly safe, clean, and green city. Parks proactively improve everything from cardiovascular and mental health and reduce violence and heat indexes. So as volunteers, we've been talking with other neighbor laborers, unpaid volunteers across the city. We learned that swings are missing in parks all over, including in Vernon. Projects are started but abandoned after the planning stage or just half completed. Bathrooms, if they exist in a park, are often locked or broken. Things take way too long to get fixed. Councilwoman Bass, a safety surface in Vernon Park from the 2015 investment has been in the repair queue for years around the spinny thing, that's a favorite, and the swings have been as well. Volunteers buy our own trash bags and mulch a lot of the time. The permit process is really frustrating. There's endless admin. New volunteers are really hard to recruit, and seasoned ones are burning out. As volunteers, we can't scale in a system that can't sail. Our partners and champions in Parks and Rec and also on council, they work in stewardship and operations, and they work so hard but need more resources to support the Park Friends Network. So we as volunteers all across the city are asking you all to advocate for these really basic, crucial investments in Parks and Rec to address staffing, equipment, maintenance, and programming for every park and every neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and I'm going to be brief because we have a long line.
Yeah.
But thank you for your comments, and I can tell you that each and every one of us, whether you're a district member or an at-large member, share the same concerns. It takes way too long to get our parks and recreation centers particularly rebuilt. Particularly frustrating when we know that you can rebuild a section of I-95 in 12 days. And so if you can do that, it shouldn't take 7 years to rebuild a recreation center. It takes just way too long. The promise of the rebuild program was that buildings were going to be able to go up a whole lot faster. And that didn't happen for a number of different reasons, but we just agree with you. It takes way too long. We have been working to put money, to put funds into our sites, every opportunity that each and every one of us gets to rebuild, whether it's a park, a recreation center, a swimming pool, a library, we make sure that it happens. But until we perfect the process and get it as close to perfection as possible, we want you to know that we hear you and that we're working alongside with you. And I look forward to attending your Friends of Vernon Park meeting. I know it's coming up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Felicia Coward, and we are a tag team. Angela and I both are members of the Friends of Vernon Park. So I too want to thank you for responding to our questions and problems. I'm going to be very brief. Councilwoman Bash, you respond to our issues that we bring to you. I'm sure that's across the board. I listen every week to the council meetings on WURD. And so I do love the innovative approaches that you're attempting to do with a little money, and yet you still respond to us. So I have one question, and it has to do with the revenue. I want to ask each of you where you stand on the wealth tax for Philadelphia, and then if we could, where you stand also on reducing the wage tax for low-income Philadelphians and small businesses. I think that's key to us addressing these issues. If we want another 100,000 for the parks, we need more money for our safety issues, but we all need that revenue. And I know that you have some of the discussions have taken place in committees. I'm not sure when you're going to discuss the revenue issue, but I would love to hear from each of you where you stand on the wealth tax for Philadelphia.
Well, I haven't reviewed it, but I don't support it locally. I think that's something that should be from the federal government standpoint. And I also do support, I call it tax relief for investment when you talk about burden and the wage tax. And so I believe that if we're going to be the largest, poorest, if we're going to erase the moniker of being the largest, poorest city in America, we have to focus on investments. And investment means creating more jobs. And I also don't come from the mentality that we have to be forever dependent upon government. I think we have to create jobs so people could be independent, and also we can empower them to be independent individuals that's not lifelong dependent of city government. And so one of the key ways of doing it is job growth and development. That's how I believe that we eradicate poverty. That's the way I believe that we eradicate addressing the issue of youth gun violence. That's the way I believe that we create wealth, generational wealth for individuals, can be first-time home buyers. And so that's my own particular approach. Members can weigh in. Just can I have one question, ma'am? Each individual will answer.
This is just a small follow-up.
Sure, ma'am.
During the pandemic, when monies came in, children were lifted out of poverty. Okay? In a year. Lifted out of poverty. That was government money, and they found that money. Our education
That's federal money, ma'am. In the city of
No,
Philadelphia.
the point I'm making when you said that we shouldn't be dependent upon
No,
government money.
let me put it this way. I'm on the mind state, right? That as government, we always want to be there for the people. That's first and foremost, right? But like a person goes from renting to owning a house, I come from living in public housing, right? With my family, right? But obviously, as you grow, right? I want to be also become self-sufficient and pay it forward to someone else. That's all I'm just saying. But in terms of the wealth tax, I think that's something that should be levied from the federal standpoint, my own personal opinion. And also, I do believe in creating job growth and development. That's just my own personal opinion. Other members may have their own way, but I also believe that we have to empower people. Some people might go from a renter to become a homeowner. Some people may live in public housing to become an actual homeowner of their own. And that only happens when it comes from job growth and development and also helping families create generational wealth. That's just my own personal opinion, man. That's just me though. And that's someone that comes from not a political family, humble beginnings, living in PHA with my family, right? And being able to still do the work that I'm doing and still living in the very same neighborhood where I grew up in as an elected official. That's just me personally though, man. We just signed a letter and we're doing a rally with SEIU to allow the city of Philadelphia to have our own right to raise the minimum wage. And to be quite frank, $15 is not a real minimum wage, to be quite frank with you. But we are advocating to raise the minimum wage. The mayor and I just sent a letter to the governor to advocate to allow us to raise that minimum wage.
So I talked about the diversity of this council. We all see the same problem from different points of view. But what I am proud about this council is a couple of administrations ago, we did what we could at the airport to make sure baggage handlers and people that we contracted with got a living wage. And it's still not enough.
Not just living wage, and that was my bill, living wage and health care, SEIU
and health
and United here.
So we don't just sit here and talk about it, but let me just say that someone else talked about pilots. How do you have an edifice of these major institutions of education, and in the shadows of them is public health? In the shadows of them, people watch every day. People go into their futures, into their career paths, while they get left behind. So what I want to know is, if you're afraid of number 47 and DEI, then you should be afraid that you're going to lose your tax-free status with us. And we want to see what you're doing for people who live in the shadows of these institutions and see if it's enough. That's what I think.
I just want to say that what you see in front of you is a group of council members that always prioritize our constituency. And each one of us individually and as a body has a relationship of mutual respect with our federal and state counterparts who also respect and prioritize the residents of the city of Philadelphia. And so I say that to you to say that know that we hear you, and that those kinds of conversations are always prioritized, not just by this legislative body, but by our federal and state counterparts as well.
So I just want to piggyback on the minimum wage and the fact that we want to be able to have our own laws for Philadelphia. We get sued if we do that. We can't even control guns in this city. The flow of guns in the city, which is more than any other place in the state, we get stopped. I'm working on a bill just to increase the fine of people selling tobacco to minors. Can't do it. We had a carve out to do $5,000 for illegal dumping and $500 for a child's lungs getting destroyed. So we in Philadelphia, the city of the first class, are really bound by all these rules that the state of Pennsylvania puts on us, which is why it's so important for all of you to vote to make sure that we have a state legislature that will allow us to do these things. Right. You need to vote. You need to go out. We cannot have, anything. We should have 50% plus
every election. All of you and us are accountable. If we don't go and vote in people who understand that you can't live on $7.25, that's crazy. But that's federal law. That's state law. We can't. We've changed it to what we could do for people who contract with the city. But this is why it is incumbent on all of us to understand we play a role to change these laws. You know, talking about the wealth tax. If you do the wealth tax, guess what the wealthy will do? They'll go outside Philadelphia. Guess who will be paying for that wealth tax? Middle and low income people. Not the wealthy, because they can get up and move. They can incorporate somewhere else. So it's very important to understand how we make these laws so they're fine-tuned for these loopholes. And that's really critical.
And the other realistic part, because I wouldn't want to sell you a dream, man, and say, oh, you know, like free college for everybody, free daycare, right? Because when you lose businesses here in the city of Philadelphia, it means we have less tax revenue for parks and recs, for after-school programs, for your potholes, right? And then what happens is we have to make a decision on, well, what taxes we want to raise on you? What real estate tax we want to raise on you? Or we're going to go to the state and say, well, we need a sales tax, which comes back on you again, right? To help us get the revenue that we need. And so, but so I want to not come across as being unsympathetic. I truly understand, but we also have to be pragmatic in terms of our approach, because at the end of the day, you don't want us saying, well, why are you raising taxes again for the schools, right? And then you're coming back us again and saying, why are you raising more taxes for our after-school programs, and why are you raising more taxes for our parks and recreational facilities? So it's a balancing act, but I do understand you loud and clearly in terms of making sure we're supporting those most vulnerable. Remember, Young?
I'll just say, I actually looked at getting rid of the wage tax for low income under a certain limit, and because of the uniformity clause, we have what's called the uniformity clause in Philadelphia. So which means we can't do for one without doing for others. So couldn't cut it for one group without cutting it for all groups.
Got to keep it moving. Member Bash, your district.
I was just going to add that, you know, I really kind of ditto what everything that has already been said in terms of where we are and why we do, why we act in the way that we act when it comes to legislation. A lot of the things that we would really like to do and really like to see happen, we are hamstringed. We are handcuffed by Harrisburg in terms of what we are able to do. You know, as Nina said, as a city of the first class, you know, some things we are just unable to get through legally. You know, we can't tax at different rates. We can't, you know, do certain things. But the one thing I will say is that I am wholeheartedly in support of reducing the wage tax for low-income individuals. So I think it's very important that they, you know, we're able to help them keep as much money in their pockets as possible. Thank you.
And we will be voting on tax reductions for the wage tax that's coming up that helps families as well. Go ahead.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Allison Wallach. I'm a resident of Roxborough. And while I do appreciate you hearing all of our concerns, I am overall disappointed in the budget proposal. I do not think it does enough to protect everyday working people, small business owners, immigrants, and people experiencing mental health crises. But specifically, I am concerned that we are just focusing on building housing and not repairing existing homes in our city so we can keep families in their homes. So the Philadelphia Energy Authority seeks $10 million to fund the Built to Last home repair program, invest in clean energy workforce development, and more. But right now, there's only $1.3 million proposed. So that's a huge gap, which is a major issue because Built to Last has immediate benefits for our community. It plays an important role in advancing Philly's climate goals. That impacts every single one of us. Built to Last improves residents' health and reduces energy bills, and that investment in home repairs has also been proven to reduce gun violence and create good jobs. Right now, there are 336 people on the wait list for this program in District 4 and 445 on the wait list in District 8. So it's in demand and we're not funding it. Plus, federal funding for these programs remain uncertain, and $16 million has been cut already from this program. So last year, council succeeded in adding funds to this program, and we need to do that again this year. So I'm asking, will you push for a fully funded Philadelphia Energy Authority so they can carry out these essential citywide projects?
Yes.
Great. What about the others?
Look, the reason why it's an easy ask, and I'm not sure why the proposal was only $1 million, and we did fight. I think last year they asked for 10. We did get them $5 million for Emily Shapiro. They do a lot of work with Fleet Thrive and Grace Ferry in my district. But we also have a robust basic systems repair program that spends $1 million a week, right? And their efforts are similar, right? They're focusing on rehabilitating the homes, but also the weatherization component that PEA brings to the table complements what basic system repair are able to do. So we're definitely going to advocate to make sure that Emily Shapiro and PEA also be a part of this budget process as we move forward. Because it just makes, I mean, we borrowing we borrowing $1 billion, so it just makes sense that would be a part of the conversation. I'm not sure why it's only at a $1 million, but you have our commitment that we're going to advocate to make sure that it gets a significant amount of funding to help with the overall housing plan that's being proposed.
Yeah, Council President, I just want to jump in briefly and say, I remember
Stefan.
Yeah.
Stefan is the Deputy
Chief Financial
Officer.
Yeah. So I remember last year, the Council President and other members of Council fought for PEA, specifically Built to Last as well. And it ended up being like $5 million to Built to Last. And as you mentioned, it does important work, helping to repair homes, making sure homes that are already established, are repaired and fixed and really keeping people, in their homes. So it's an important program.
So we're going to fight for it. But I swore when you walked up to that mic, being from Roxborough, you was going to ask me how we getting rid of those rats in Roxborough. I just was braced for that, and we are on it. Josh Cohen, he will tell you we are all on top, but you didn't ask that. But
no rats
we're on
today,
that
but
too.
thank you for standing up for Built to Last. Thank you.
Wanted to add that this afternoon we had a briefing from PHA, and they made it very clear that there's a significant portion of what they're doing is basic repairs. And for, our Philadelphia homes on average 70 years old. And so PHA is doing it. I know in the mayor's, the way she divided it up, there was more for preservation rather than just building. So I think from every direction we have to do this. And it seemed like PHA felt fairly comfortable that the federal government was not cutting them as of yet. So I think it's going to be a multifactorial way to address this.
Thank you. 2 quick points. First, I would like you to increase the maintenance budget of Parks and Rec. We're building all these lovely new buildings with rebuild, and I would love to see them stay nice and functional over time. Second, with the actual value initiative for property taxes, it needs to get more granular. The model is not granular enough to accurately value homes. So the poorest residents are getting overvalued, and the richest residents are underpaying. Like if you look at Chestnut Hill and other places, they're significantly undervalued by millions of dollars. And then the people with $100,000 homes are significantly overvalued. So it's just not fair. It needs to be more granular so it can be accurate and actually value the properties correctly. Thank you.
I will go on the record to say, and she's not here this evening, young lady named Councilman Jamie Gauthier, during the last budget process, we got significant funding for a disparity study on property assessment. So we are taking a look at how there's a disparity in how certain neighborhoods are evaluated when it comes to property taxes versus other areas. So that is in the process. And I know for a fact also, during this upcoming budget proposal from the administration, there's also dollars to do a follow-up to make sure we're getting it right to address the racial disparities in terms of how neighborhoods are assessed. Thank you.
And Council President, I just wanted to add to you, sir, that this question of disaggregating to a granular level has been asked of that office, and we're actually waiting to hear back how they're going to actually assess, because one expensive project in a whole swath is raising everybody's without actually going down and checking to see what's happening with that specific development. So they're aware of it because we brought it up, and I'm waiting for a response.
Hi, I'm Reverend Ernest Glover from the House of Faith Baptist Church, formerly Harold O. Davis Memorial Baptist Church under the leadership of the late Bishop Kermit L. Newkirk. Firstly, I want to thank Cindy Bass for all her help with illegal dumping and the trafficking in our area for people that are just living there that shouldn't be there. I'm here to actually continue their fight to find out what's going to be happening with the Logan Triangle, the sinking homes, and the 19140, 1914 area that was built on ash and cinder. It's been over 30 something years, more than 40 years, and nobody's come out to do anything about it. I see that you've fixed the ramp for the 76 area code, but we're trying to figure out what's our place. I see you have budget money for homes. Are there going to be homes built? What's the plan for us?
So thank you for the question, number one. So there's no housing that's allowed to be built on the site because of what happened before.
Okay.
The property is deed restricted, so you cannot build housing on the site.
Okay.
We've had several different
proposals, right?
Yeah. That have been brought forward in terms of what was going to be built there. And the most recent one was by a very well-known developer, the Goldenberg Group.
Group, yes.
Yeah, they do a lot, all over. And the fact of the matter is, it's just really hard, and they weren't able to pull it off. And, they tried, they put in resources. The city was willing to put in resources to be helpful, but we just could not get them to see their way through to the end of this project. A new RFP is going to be coming out shortly for the site, and we're going to see what kind of new proposals come in. We're very hopeful that we'll get something that's going to be an asset to that community, and so we'll certainly be keeping you posted in meeting with you and your pastor.
So my take back to this community that's been really decimated by this, and our church as well, is we'll wait and see.
Well, the take back is that we are putting out a new request for proposals. The last one fell through. The developer couldn't make it happen.
Okay.
We're hopeful that someone will step up and have a proposal that'll work. This is a very complicated project, as you can imagine.
Right.
In some areas of the Logan Triangle, the depth, from what I understand, is like 40 feet or more.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy project. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to build houses on a creek. Who was that brain scientist?
That was somebody 60 years ago.
So a long time ago, but we are putting out an RFP for it, and we're hopeful to get something new. And we'd be happy to work with you all and make sure that we do a conversation with the church.
That was my next question.
Neighbors.
Okay.
So we'll be happy to come back out.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello. My name is, first of all, I'm shy. I'm sorry. My name is Asha Edens, and I'm 25 years old. I'm a single mother, a recent full-time student, and a newly licensed nurse. I live on the 1300 block of Rockland and have been having major issues with parking. I did hear the clarification on the fact that it is for Center City as far as like the dollar increase. Okay, but I was concerned at the fact that it could possibly, affect the residential homes in the future. I live on a block that's a commercial block technically. So I spoke with you, Miss Cindy Bass, about a year ago when my car was booted because of me owing $3,000 in tickets. You said you'd give me a call back on the issue and try to make it so my block would be considered residential instead of commercial, being as though most of the businesses are not in operation. I unfortunately did not receive a call back. I have never received a speeding or traffic ticket. They are all from my block. This issue has gotten to the point where I'm not able to stay at my apartment out of the fear that my car will be taken by PPA. My registration has also been suspended, so I'm unable to drive at the moment. I currently owe $2,800 again, all from my block, and this is after the initial $3,000 that I was able to pay off.
I remember that conversation. I thought we had a conversation and resolved it, but I'd like to speak to you at the end, because I do remember very vividly our conversation about the issues that you're having. So why don't we talk offline at the end? Okay, I'll be happy to talk to you.
I don't mean to do the speed round because we way past 8 o'clock. So just please ask your question, and then we're gonna We got a nice still lawn, and we want to hear everybody out, but you have to be very direct. And I've been to close that line off, so I see Sergeant Arms. Are y'all shutting the line, or are y'all still letting people come behind? All right, thank you, sir. How you doing? Go
Good
ahead, sir.
afternoon. Greg Palmier is my name, and I want to encourage all of you. I think all of you supported public banking in the last term, last semester, when Jim Kenney pocket vetoed it, or didn't veto it, but never appointed the board. I want to encourage all of you to encourage our great mayor to appoint the board, because when you control your money, you can make a lot of opportunities happen in the community. Right now, as we all know, it's deposited into Wells Fargo or Citizens Bank, and these banks have been bailed out twice now by us in the last 30 years. And I would just like to encourage all of you to encourage our great mayor to appoint the board so that we can control our future and control where our money gets spent. Might be a good way to do. The one question I did have to ask is, I'd like to encourage you also to have hearings on the improvement to existing public facilities fund, which is the only line item in the capital budget that doesn't get heard. And I think that disenfranchises the public from knowing how those dollars are spent. Otherwise, I just want to thank you for being here and coming to the community. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Manira Edens. I am a worker organizer with the Philly Black Worker Project. And we do support the many non-unionized workers here in the city. But I am here today to talk about the Power Act. That was something that was introduced by us because of the horrible things that the new Trump administration is doing, cutting worker protections, and our Black and brown communities are under attack. So I would like to know, will you be voting yes to the Power Act, and will you be advocating for an increase for the Office of Worker Protections in this budget season? I know last year we were advocating for an increase. It actually was cut, but I know this is a crucial time that we needed to be supporting the Black and brown workers of our city. I've heard a lot of amazing things today about people being supported individually. What I do know about organizing is that the way to really combat these issues is to get things to support everybody in a whole. And so this is why we are supporting the Power Act. So will you be supporting that and advocating for an increase for the Office of Worker Protection?
Yes. I'm on the Power Act. So we have a hearing coming up. The worker protection conversation is an ongoing conversation between the administration and myself, and so I'll keep you abreast on how that conversation is going as we go through the budget negotiation process. But also, I would just always be transparent. I'm separate from members of council because the Office of Worker Protection is under the mayor's purview, and so I got to be transparent. You have to advocate with the administration. So the same way council is having our town hall, show up at that town hall that they're doing and say, hey, when you go negotiate with council, this is what we want you to support. So when we all sit around the table, they'll say, okay, we have some advocacy from our end, and then we can come to a meeting of the minds. But I hear you loud and clearly, and I'm definitely going to be at the hearing regarding the Power Act because I am a co-sponsor of it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Council President. I didn't even expect to see you today. I think I expected to see a lot of the other members of council here. So yeah, I think the question is really to a lot of the other members.
I think the council president really speaks for most of us up here, or all of us up here, that yes, we're all in support of the Power Act. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Todd Brown. How you doing? I want to ask you a question. When Rendell, if I remember, they backed him to become mayor, gave the parking authority to the state. And the legislators of Philadelphia signed off on it. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Helen Jim corrected me at a meeting. I'm a committee person. She corrected me. She said, no, they made over $1 billion. In the newspaper, the Daily News has said that the state, because the parking authority was doing whatever with the money, this money will go to the school board and back to the city of Philadelphia. I looked at the news about a year or two ago. The school board said they got $30-something million since then. Now, this has been going on for years, hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, they take your car. You don't have insurance with them. I agree with that. I agree with everything they're doing, but the money they're taking supposed to come back to the city. Now, when Holland Jim, I said, well, that's fraud. You're taking the money from Philadelphia? What's the state putting it in their budget? She said, well, the only way you can sue them is racketeering, the RICO law. Now, why haven't any council person or anybody in the city of Philadelphia went to the state and said the hundreds of millions of dollars you're taking from tickets and taking people cars to fund the school board, which they did say they were going to do, and give back to the city. Now, and they haven't since then. Now, how long have they been doing this? 10, 15 years? Huh? Billions of dollars? But you just raised well, you didn't. My taxes just went up $500 on my house. I bought a building.
Ask your question, sir.
I bought a building $1,800. Now, $2,200 more. But is the city broke? But you're not getting the billions of dollars that the state is taking from us in Philadelphia?
Yes, sir. That's the time. So your question is, should we be advocating and fighting to get?
Yes.
Okay, we will look into that issue.
They're gonna look into it. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sharif Street, Senator, you have a response?
So,
State legislature.
couple of, I'm just kidding. So you have
some clarity.
brother, I'm trying to answer your question. You have an excellent point. It's really not a city council issue. It isn't, no, let me say, it is a state issue. I'm a state senator. That's why I'm talking, right? So we did have the state, we did have some hearings. We looked into it. I do believe that the parking authority needs to be returning more of that money to the school district. Unfortunately, to pass a bill would require the Republicans in the legislature to allow us to advance it. But you are correct. It is something we're looking at. The money, the excess proceeds need to be returned to the city and the school district. It is an issue that is live in front of us in Harrisburg. But I don't want to get too deep into that because this is a council proceeding. But I'd love to talk to you about it more later. All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lee Walker. I have a New Style Youth Entrepreneurship Program. And I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Khalil was speaking on as far as the funding for crime prevention, because that's where my heart is. That's where my heart is. I worked with Darryl Schuler for years to combat violence. Also, God has authenticated me for this because I was one of them worse. The city know me. It's a lot of people in City Hall that know me. They know the transformation of my life. And this ain't to glorify my past, but I was somebody nobody believed would ever be here, would ever be an impact. I was giving up on, except for that man right there, Darryl Schuler. I gave him and I gave him headaches. But I'm just giving you that because of who I was, I have a hope inside of me that these youth can change. And my program is not just about an outward skill. My mission is to turn killers back to kids and young men and women into successful young entrepreneurs because I had multiple businesses from the mud. When COVID came, I got no funding. I gave everybody in Nicetown their money back for events. I do fundraisers. I do free repasses. He know that. But I'm going to talk about the other part because all the time I'm in the trenches. Y'all don't know me, but y'all know my work. Because all them young people, it started in the Juvenile Justice Center. DS reached out to a bunch of X3 people. The youth took over the jail. We took it back. I was responsible for one of the most dangerous units in there, built a bond with them and a rapport. So it enabled me to get my own program in there. So these youth, they are changing. But every one of them that come home, because to me, you got their attention in jail, but the most important part is the follow-up. They call me 1 a.m. They want to go out, blow somebody's brains out. Guess who coming? I'm coming. They got an issue. I'm coming. I had one young person never even heard of Fridays. I posted it. His 18th birthday. He was in the gang. He put stuff down and got stuff put in him, if you know what I'm talking about. He never, ever heard of Fridays. I took him to Fridays. He was crying. He thought he was in Paris because from 11 to 18, all he did was trap on the block. That's my body of work. So the work I put in saved a lot of lives. The work I put in, them young people that was out there killing people, I had them in my business in New Style Youth Entertainment Complex serving people platters. I had everybody stand up and clap for them. These are the same ones that was robbing you that's now in here serving you. So my question is this. Every time I tried to get funding, I was told all the funds was allocated. I'm at the bottom, but my work is high. Trust me. There's people in here that can attest to that. Also, I'm authentic. I teach them young people, don't do what I told you, do what I showed you.
So I'm not a person that's trying to use funding to pimp y'all. I care. So from that time I had my program, when they come home, I follow up with my money. I get them cell phones so they don't rob nobody for a cell phone. I'm going to cut it short. But I'm just going to say this. So my thing is, if they're saying that the money that was already allocated wasn't enough to do everything that was done, where do I stand? I'm at the bottom of the poll. I've been
What part
trying.
of the city you from?
Nice. Well, my business is in 1640 West. Now I want to say that we just created a relationship with Cindy Bash and them, and they are. We already on it. I just wanted y'all all to hear me, because y'all don't really know me, but y'all know the work. So
Well, I like your
thank
story
you,
though,
Cindy,
good
and I
brother.
appreciate it. It's real.
Thank you for your hard work too.
Thank you. And I'm going to be real brief. I just want to acknowledge.
North Philly?
North
Good job, bro. I like that. And a smile too.
Thank you for your work. Thank you for your service. I know Kenny and Sean have been working closely with you, and we look forward to supporting you. Absolutely.
They know you now. Is it working? Good evening, City Council. My name is Leonette. I am a West Philadelphia resident, a proud 4th District resident at that. Tonight you heard from a lot of park and recreation advocates, and I'm another one of them. However, I'm not going to repeat much of what was said tonight. You guys can clearly see how much park and recreation means to us. I'm also a longtime volunteer of park and recreation sites, and I know that affordable housing and SEPTA is the biggest topics for the budget this season. But we are just here tonight to advocate for park and recreation because we don't want funding to fall through the cracks for park and recreation. They're more than just buildings. They're more than just playgrounds. These are safe havens. These are our community hubs. And it's daytime housing for some people. You know, some people don't have housing. So they come to park and recreation and they eat there and they have friendships and stuff there. And park and recreation definitely has been holding it down for many years with limited funding. Luckily, I come from a district with a teaching council member. When advocates come to him, he tells us, bring me back some data, bring me back some solutions. So he got me watching the budget hearings. So when I watched the budget hearing from last session, right, I almost spilled my coffee when Park and Recreation said they didn't have a funding request for operational costs. Now, I know it's a lot that I need to learn, but that kind of bothered me because I'm like, well, we have so many needs. Why wouldn't they ask for any funding requests for operation? So I have 2 questions. Based on your definition of operating budget, it says operational budget pays for everyday services and programs like libraries and building inspection. So when I saw building inspection, I thought about rebuild, right? And I thought about out of 400 centers, only 72, and correct me if I'm wrong, made that list, right? Our city is growing. I'm confident that our mayor is going to achieve that goal of 30,000 housing, and I'm going to help her do it. The fact of the matter is that I would like the city to be more proactive when it comes to park and recreation sites. So I was wondering if the city park and recreation capital can explore funding inspections, maybe every 4 years, getting every park and recreation center inspected. I don't know what the costs look like, but I'm gonna just compare it to a house, right? A house inspection costs about $300. So let's say what if a building is $1,000? That's 400 sites. So is that doable to get every site inspected, right? Every 4 years, and every council member has a detailed list of what's going on with every rec center in their neighborhood.
We will take that in consideration and go ahead. It's the vice chair of Parks and Rec.
Well, I was just going to say, because I've done a lot of work with Parks and Recreation as the former chair since I've been in council, and I would say just sort of like a different take on ensuring that the work gets done. I just think as a district member, it requires me to go out to every site, see what's happening, listen, take a list and push that list and start getting the work done rather than having an inspection once every 4 years. And also these sites have staff. The staff should be reporting what's happening, and also the advisory council. And so having the advisory council be active and reporting, to the district council person and also to the staff at the site what's happening. I think just collectively, we don't have to wait every 4 years for an inspection. I understand what you're saying, though. Just like how do we stay on top of it, I think is really what you're saying, and making sure that these things can get done. We have a system in our office in which we're able to take down the information and just sort of like track it, follow it through, make sure that it gets done. And I think that that's really what's needed here. But I understand.
Councilmember Jeffrey Young.
Yeah, and I just want to encourage everyone in here who is a supporter of Parks and Rec to just let the communities know that there is a shortage of workers in Parks and Rec, and they are hiring. So if it's something that is important to you, to your community, please apply for these jobs so we can continue to have these facilities. So we can now know to call on you, right? Because we have a relationship with you and say, hey, tell us what's really going on in these parks and these rec centers, right? So we can then advocate on your behalf, on the community's behalf, to the administration when it comes to parks and rec issues. So we need these jobs filled, and these jobs will then in turn help all of us in the community.
May I respond to Jeffrey Young, please?
Yes, briefly, please.
Briefly. I'm glad you brought that up. The second part of the definition of your operating budget that was presented tonight said it also covers personal expenses like salaries, retirement, and benefits. With that said, could that funding be used to increase the hiring pay rates?
That's what I was going to say.
Because there is a West Philadelphia engagement position right now. I would never apply for it though. $15.
So the reason why there wasn't an actual increased request for Parks and Rec is the significant amount of vacancies.
Okay.
And so because we have a significant amount of vacancies, they decided not to request additional funding because we were asked the question, well, why are you asking for more money and you have all these vacancies here? Well, so it's pretty much using those same type of funds to cover other expenses. But if you want additional information, we'll do a follow-up with you. Councilman Jones?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Real quick, the best thing happening in West Philly is the Friends of. Those Friends of are now partnering with money that we're going after grants from the state. So we don't have enough money. I get a certain amount of money, which I won't talk about, to fix rec centers every year.
Yes, you do.
But if I add that to what I can get from the state, we actually make a dent in certain communities. We're sitting right here. We got Shula on our radar.
Mm-hmm.
We have the actual school district on our radar. Yeah. Say it again. And Whittier, right? We have a number of our rec centers on. I spend money I don't have, but I go to my state partners like Senator Street and Senator Hughes to make sure that they put in some of the contributions too. And it's making a difference.
Yep.
We're going to fix that pool right down the street. Roads is going to get fixed.
Yep.
I shouldn't have said that early, but that pool is going to get fixed so that we can teach deep diving to young people. We can get the young people certified to be lifeguards.
Right.
That we can get the police to do rescue training right in our high school to create career paths. So those rec centers you're talking about are pathways out of poverty.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Councilmember. We know you can't do it on your own, so I will ask that the sit-in
Thank you, young lady.
and state.
You're way over your time. Thank you very much. So we
Thank you.
appreciate it. No, good job. Go ahead, young man, and then young lady. This is like really a speed round.
Well, I'll be brief. Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick Houston. Thank you all for hosting this. Really appreciate it. It's inspiring hearing y'all speak and everybody in the community out here. I'll be brief because my question was asked already and because it looks like the mayor's representative left and it was part of the question that was directed towards them.
The mayor representative was never here. This is all city council. This is the deputy chief financial officer. That's just going for city council.
Thanks.
But he knows the budget inside and out, so he may be able to answer your question.
Great, thanks for clarifying. Including the person who did the overview of the mayor's budget proposal.
Yes, she's the chief financial officer, but he's a deputy, so he's more than well qualified to answer your question.
Okay, thank you. Well, let me jump in because time's ticking. Thank you. So I'm also here to talk about comprehensive home repair. I grew up in the 5th district. Now I still live in the 5th district in the New Park. Particularly grew up in Hunting Park, right up the street from the park. Spent much of my childhood. My oldest brother, who raised me, Al, was always pulling money aside to fix those leaky, drafty windows, the bad insulation, that old boiler. We were finally able to make some of those fixes out of our own money, and then we had to move. We rented, we didn't own. And then had the same situation now with a brother that lives on Hunting Park Ave right now. So it's all to say that was way before the Built to Last program was in place. And right now we know that so many more people are still, including my brother Chris, are still looking for programs just like this. So I want to say appreciate Councilmember Young. I know he said he's supporting the Built to Last money. Kenyatta Johnson, and the question you asked at the other hearing on the Built to Last money. That's really meaningful. We talk about closing the racial wealth gap. We talk about workforce development. We talk about home ownership for low-income people in Philadelphia. Built to Last helps enable all of that. We talk about avoiding displacement. Built to Last helps us avoid all of that. My question, and this is one where it's like, how can we work with council? And that is, every year, if council has to spend all this time fighting for this madly popular bill where it's over 2,000 people on the wait list right now, not bill, program, Built to Last, with over 2,000 people on the wait list, how can we help y'all nudge the mayor to be like, let's get this automatically included? And then the last thing I'll say, are there any ways that we can get that money just automatically in the budget?
Continue advocating. That's first and foremost. Two, the administration will have their own budget town hall. So I think it's prudent that you show up with your supporters and advocate for that particular program. And in terms of a long-term strategy around supporting Built to Last, we're having ongoing conversations because technically, Philadelphia Energy Authority, which housed the Built to Last program, is technically not an administration program. It's technically a city council program. And so it's just a negotiation thing where we're going back and forth, but technically it's not under the mayor's purview running that particular office. But we want to help everybody. So I'll work with the mayor and we'll come up with an agreement on how we can be supportive of one another as we move forward, regardless if it's under her purview or city council purview. All right. But great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got to keep moving now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, young lady.
Hi there. My name is Margaret Davidson, and I'm a resident down the street from here at 5500 Wissahickon, known as Alden Park. They also are addressed as 2979 Schoolhouse Lane and 2967 Schoolhouse Lane. I'm the vice president of the Tenants Association there at Alden Park Apartments, and was just liking to make a powerful request. And when you are making your adjustment to the budget to consider L&I. So our president, Katie, has spoken to the office of Cindy Bass and has also made several unsuccessful attempts to the office of Councilman Jones as well. And our concern is that we're looking to expand the budget of L&I. We've dealt with many tenants lacking hot water, heat, continuous pest infestations, countless fire code violations, including 24 active ones currently. The bricks and balconies are crumbling off the buildings, despite the fact that a 2022 report said that they were only safe for repairs. Our landlord has never made any of those repairs, and there's plenty of other violations as well. Our landlord has consistently rented without an active rental license. There are over 500 units in the complex, and has also been able to renew their license and certificate of rental suitability with active violations, all of which should have been recognized by L&I. Residents are continually tasked with the hassle of begging L&I to come out for follow-up investigations in hopes of forcing our landlord to make our home safe. There are only 11 inspectors for all the properties in Philadelphia, and that's just not enough. The lack of appropriate budgeting endangers renters and diminishes the value of our neighborhood.
So if I could, I met with the gentleman who runs Mr. Taylor, who's a part of that association. We are scheduling a tour of Alden Park, and word on the street, I don't know this to be true, is that that apartment complex was sold. And if that is true, I want to meet with the new owner with those lists of issues to be able to work that out. Now, you are not by yourself. As we look at older multi-unit rentals, such as Briff Shalom, such as others that L&I, so here's the problem with that. I come out, I huff, I puff, I bring L&I with me. And guess what it tends to do? Makes people homeless. I say, yeah, Councilman, you're right. This is wrong, that's wrong, the other thing is wrong. and we're going to close this down and so we have to be gingerly careful as to how we approach these units. And this is something that my colleagues have helped me with Griff Shalom. We say the best day of my professional career was saving 300 veterans and seniors from homelessness. And that's the best day of my career. And the second best day is when I walk through Alden Park.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Can I just make I'm sorry, go ahead.
You gotta be real quick.
I was just going to say, I just had a special request. When you do the walkthrough, could I get you in contact with the Tenants Association so one of our members can walk through with you?
Right after this.
Okay.
And I also want to give a shout out to one of my members. He's not here, named Nicholas O'Rourke. And he just introduced legislation to focus on landlords, right? Now, we support landlords, but also there's bad actors. Because we want to make sure you're holding folks accountable, right? They're making sure that the tenants receive the type of quality housing that they deserve. And so we're on top of this issue, right, as a council body. And again, as Councilman Jones may say, we may not all agree how we get there, but we all start rolling in the same direction in terms of how we address these issues. Mr. Obama Higgins, how you doing, sir?
Thank you.
Is this on?
Thank you.
Yeah, here we go. In 2021, there was a study, a roadmap to safer communities. And in that roadmap, it said that the root cause of gun violence is structural racism. And the solution, large-scale investments in the areas that have been decimated by crime, violence, and unemployment. I submitted a bill that I wrote to address this issue, and no one has addressed it. You don't have to talk about it right now. I'll see you on Thursday. But the second most important thing is this. This is a sanctuary city, and President Donald Trump has said that he's going to cut the budget funding to sanctuary cities. I want to know, and the people want to know, are you prepared to relinquish the status of sanctuary cities so that the true citizens can benefit from this budget and it not go to people who come into this city illegally? Can somebody answer that question? Because y'all cut me off in city council sometime and y'all curse me out in my face. So we need some answers. The people, the American freedmen, the descendants of slavery need some answers about this structural racism and this gun violence.
You want to speak?
That's right. The American freedmen.
So I wrote that in my blueprint for a safer Philadelphia, that at the root cause of some of this problem we face in gun violence is structural racism. And I've been remiss in reading and sitting down with you. So before you leave here, I want to sit down so that you can give me a better understanding. I get 2 minutes with you on Thursday, and you my guy, 50 grand, but I need to learn a little more about what you are proposing.
Almost 2 years later, you want to sit down with me, sir.
Yeah,
We'll
better late than never.
Problem. I'll see you on Thursday.
No, we're closed. See me now.
Okay, no problem.
We're closed on Thursday.
Go ahead, young lady. And I'm going to ask
My name is Janice Brown. I want to thank Cindy Bass office for calling me about the meeting tonight. But I live in Curtis Jones District. Curtis Jones, I've had a rodent problem for the last 4 years. And I called 911 right there, 2800 North 24th Street. It's an abandoned building. The stores put their trash there. The residents put their trash there. And it's right next to my property. And nobody has come out to do anything besides call 311 and they'll pick it up in 5 to 7 days. I wanted to know how come, because we used to have the citation officers come out. I wanted to know how come the citation officers can't go into the precinct and look at those tapes to see who's actually dragging that trash out there.
That short dumping is a problem that we face throughout the city. And we are working to try to develop ways through license plate readers and others. But on your specific short dumping problem, I got a guy named Josh Cohen right out there. And what I'm telling you is if it's a vacant property with trash coming out of it, give me 7 days.
Well, it's not. It's they took the board down. The city has, L&I did board that building up, but now they're going in that building, and I'm afraid that my property may catch on fire.
So they boarded it up and then they broke
They
it.
took it down. Then the young guy in the neighborhood say to me, "Oh, you know the board is down. Oh, your house may catch on fire."
All right, we're going that I will deal with that. This is new to me, but I'll deal with it. Please go right over there and we'll deal with it.
Over where?
Thank you very much, ma'am. To speak to one of his staff.
How y'all doing?
John, can you help the young lady with Councilman Curtis Jones' staff? Go ahead, sir.
How you doing today? Paul Williams, job developer for Pushing Progress Philly. By the way,
P3, right?
Absolutely. By the way, I love to have
Jamie not here no more?
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
my God.
All right.
I would love to have that building on 24th of Somerset and create a pathway for young men in that space. That's really why I'm here. The gentleman that spoke earlier kind of touched on that, so I'm really not going to go into that. But my question is, in reference to what he spoke to, being in that space with regards to helping young men, creating pathways, developing people. That's what I do. And for the life of me, I can't seem to get $5 from the city to help me do anything. And that's actually what he was speaking to. I did 36 years in prison, wrongfully convicted. I've been home. I've been pushing. I'm to a point now where I just have to continue to push forward, and that's what I do. We seem to can't get a foothold in getting our programs off the ground.
All right, so we're going to do this. Well, both of you, you know Councilman Bass, right?
Familiar, yes.
So we want you to get beyond familiar,
Absolutely.
right? This is my uptown big sis, right? And whatever she asks on your behalf, we're going to see how we can do to be supportive.
But I'm gonna check one better than that. DS is my big brother.
You starting wrong using him as your big brother. You said the wrong one, bro. I've been trying to go to his parties since the 80s.
And I've been there too. I just ain't never run across.
So don't use him, bro.
I have free entry.
TSO self-funded.
You was cool with Jamie, but him, he's still spending money from the 70s. So. We love you, DS.
So I just want to connect you also with Kenny Thompson from my office. Please check in with Kenny. Kenny, raise your hand.
I know who he is.
And all jokes aside, though, seriously, we have, and this is this body,
right?
We have changed the dynamics of how we support our boots on the ground organizations here in the city of Philadelphia. At one time, the max you can get was $10,000. Now you can get up to $1 million. And so we just need to have that conversation with you and your team as you move forward and see how we can be supportive of you. But I'm also going to let the state off the hook because the state is here as well.
Absolutely.
And so, you got State Senator Sharif Street because he's also an advocate on the state level to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency and supporting boots on the ground organizations. And so through Cindy Bass, when she get in contact with me, whatever we can do to be supportive of you, we will. Okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work, though.
Hi. So a lot of the questions that I had already been asked, but I stood in this long line, so I'm gonna speak my piece. When you this was a beautiful slide that you put together. I just want you to keep in mind that when we're talking about just a little bit, just $1 more for for the meters, or just a little bit more in fees for when we selling or buying houses. Remember that I only bring home just a little bit. So when we're talking about a little bit, that's all we have is a little bit. When you have minimum wage that has not went up in God knows how long, and then you have people on fixed income. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about is just a little bit more. And with that being said, I wanted to talk about the school district. So I work for the school district and I hear that you're giving a lot of money to the school district. I just wanted to know, is there someone that's going to be overseeing how the school district actually uses that money? Because before and after care, yeah, we need that. But before and after care ain't going to take the whole budget. So we have teachers that are leaving Philadelphia for more pay. And then when we're talking about that, we can't just talk about just the teachers because the teachers don't make the whole school run. What about the staff? You see what I'm saying? Is any of that money going to be trickled down to the staff? Another thing is, I heard you talk about, a relationship with community college, trying to get something with community college. I just want to let it be known that college is not always the go-to. And I say this because my daughter right here has a master's in molecular biology and she can't find a job. So college is not always the go-to. So with that money going into the school districts, if you're looking into how it's being funded or being used, I wanted to know, could you also try to see if some of that money get used more for trade schools for when the kids get out and then have jobs waiting for them when they do get out?
I just want to clarify one part. The mayor's proposal for the Municipal Services College is not actually college.
Okay.
It's like a trade apprenticeship workforce job skills college that will prepare you just to get a job with the city. It's just housed out of community college of Philadelphia. That's part of our proposal. So it's not actually you signing up to go to college. It's just that the college housed the workforce initiative program to do exactly what you just said, to focus on the trades and also to focus on the pathway into gaining employment with the city of Philadelphia in a non-traditional way. But to your daughter, I can't promise, but I still will take the resume because
Oh,
if
she got it
has
with
that
her.
master's
She got it
degree,
with her. She got 3 of them.
and she got that master's degree, and we supposed to be the city of
We was just down at your office.
and you have Penn, you have Chop, you have Temple, right?
Give me your resume,
You got
baby.
Pennsylvania
You want
High
it
School.
right now?
There's no way in the world that we shouldn't be able to advocate, at least try to get you in the door to have a conversation with someone. And so, however, I can be supportive of Councilmember Bass to try to make something like that happen. And here's a doctor, Nina Ahmad, who chairs our health committee, official doctor, who also can be supportive, probably even more than me in her efforts because that's what she does every single day.
Okay, but just to be clear, the programs that I'm talking about is for like high school, like for Randolph Skills Center, which is a high school.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
other high schools like that.
Yes.
Okay.
CTE is what we call them. Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
we have Orleans Institute. We still do it. We still deal with Youth Bill. We still deal with Job Corps, and a couple other there's some programs separate from even what the mayor's proposing in terms of community college of Philadelphia, municipal colleges. But that is a part of the actual budget right here.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, I'm familiar with some of you guys. My name is Danielle McLean. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of Diamond Beauty Academy. And I'm also a recent graduate from University of Penn Scholars Program where I won the research pitch between mental health and beauty. My question is right now, I just obtained a building in your district, Council Jeffrey Young, and I want to know how you could support me in regards to just the functionality. Everything that I have done has been my money, everything. I got 26 kids right now. I got 65 on the waiting list, and I haven't even touched Richard Allen yet. So I teach cosmetic chemistry to these kids, and I offer them not only just internships, but I have partnerships with Sephora, Charles Schwab, where I teach financial literacy, but I can't keep doing it with my dollars. I need equipment. I'm in a building where you are functioning programs, but I need funding, like bad, really bad. So I know me and you spoke in regards to, so I do programs throughout the whole city. I sit on the board at Belmont Charter. I do programs out of the Lenfest building. So I support the whole Philadelphia. My building just right now is down 631 North 12th Street. So like I said, I haven't even touched Richard Allen yet. But I want to know, like, how can I get the support from not just Jeffrey Young, but also you, Council President, which you have always supported me.
Absolutely.
But the rest of you guys, because my students come from all of your neighborhoods.
So I'm gonna start with the district council person, right?
Yeah, I think, I saw what your program with some of the girls from your program a couple of weeks ago when I was up at Hunter Park. So I understand, the magnitude of some of these youth programs. I think that from listening to
Didn't
you,
you say we need to do more in this budget for youth
absolutely, that's one thing that
Definitely.
the one thing that I have been clear on from day one from these budget hearings is that we have to be hyper focused on programs for the youth and the young people. And as you and the few other folks who were here who spoke, the issue is that we're not touching the people on the ground that are actually doing this work. We need to be hyper focused on providing the people on the ground those type of funds, not just some of those larger institutions that traditionally get some of the funding from the city, but we have to make sure that there are mechanisms because bureaucracy is a real thing. So we have to make sure there are mechanisms for organizations like yours and others to apply directly for this funding and make sure that you are getting the support that you need. And I can tell you that it's not that we all will support what you're doing. The issue is that there are others like yourselves and like others in here as well. And we want to make sure that we make sure.
I'm the
I'm
only
not saying
cosmetic
no,
chemistry
no, 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 no.
program in
I'm
the
not
tri-state
saying
area.
I'm not saying you're specific to what you do. What I'm saying is youth organizations, right? And so we have to make sure that we tie you directly into how to apply for that $25+ million that's just coming out of the Office of Public Safety, but also tie you into the Commerce Department for other grants that they have, right? Tie you into other city departments for the grants that they have as well. Tie you into the philanthropic communities to make sure that you know that there's an organization called the Union Benevolent Association that you can apply for a $5,000, $10,000 grant with. To make sure you know that there are other funders out there that you can apply for too. So that is a part of our role, not just to say that, we want to connect with the city dollars, but it's our job to look at what other dollars are out there so we can help you connect to those funders as well.
So who connects me?
So again, if you come to, we've been talking, right? We've come to my office. I can help you point you in that direction where we can look at some of these philanthropic dollars. We'll let you know that right now the budget cycle is coming. We end of June 30, right? This fiscal year. July 1 is a new budget cycle when this money is being spent. So after July 1 is when these grants will go out for organizations like yourself to apply for, because now they know how much money they have to allocate. So if you stay in contact with us, let us, we can put you directly in contact with those organizations, those grant making organizations from the city, to let you know to apply for those grants. Because what we got from city council, we got activity fund grant, and that little couple $1,000 is nothing for organization. But that's what we control directly, right? That's what we control. The other stuff is we advocate on your behalf to the administration to make sure that you're getting the funding that's necessary to help your program be sustainable.
Okay, so you can support me on the state level.
So let's don't go nowhere though. Cindy Bass want to talk to you.
But I just really wanted to say, so we had a great conversation last week in our 30 and 30. And we were thoroughly impressed by the presentation that you and your team put together, and look forward to working with you. So that's number one. So you have, a couple of members of council here that are more than willing to be helpful to you. But I also wanted to say, this young lady here in the camo dress, please see her, because she's been burning up my phone to get your number because she wants to be helpful to you. And so, and she's with the state. So she's a state representative, Derisha Parker. She wants to be helpful. So please make sure you connect with your state resources, and Senator Street as well. He's got plenty of money. So make sure you connect with him as well. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And last,
yes. Won't take up time. So it's Jeffrey. I believe he answered the majority of my questions. So now it's more so of just expression. My name is Mike Webb. I'm the founder of Community Care Cuts. I own a barbershop, and Community Care Cuts is right now it's for profit, but I've been providing sponsored haircuts to senior citizens in nursing homes, public housing authorities, dedicated medical centers, all that throughout Philly. Right now, those haircuts are sponsored by insurance brokers, but the nonprofit that I'm
could y'all keep it down just in the back? This last question, this young man been waiting with his two daughters. Sergeant Arms, can you tell people to keep it down in the back, please?
Appreciate that. I'm the Pennsylvania ambassador for an organization called Buzz It Forward, and they sponsor haircuts for at-risk youth, and not specifically just for at-risk youth, really for all ages, 7 to 17. And I'm sure you guys up here and everybody in this room could attest to, if you can reach the youth anywhere between those ages, that's a nice shift of direction. Our whole process is you look better, you feel better, you do better. So if you can connect these already engaged barbers in the community with the youth in those communities long term, now this is obviously beneficial all around. These are sponsored haircuts. So these are BuzzBox. There's a BuzzBox program, then there's the Buzzathon. What I'm here to encourage and get the awareness out is about the BuzzBox program. That's a program that sponsors a barber to go to a youth facility, like a YMCA, a Boys and Girls Club, anything like that, once a week to cut hair, and this erects the barbershop in that facility. So now not only does the facility have a barbershop the other 6 days of the week to utilize however they want, if they wish to for profit, or make the bridge now community care cuts, and seniors can get a haircut there. But the bottom line here is I wanted to express how Buzz It Forward is looking to make a push in Pennsylvania. So again, Jeffrey, you shine some light on how I should go about, or what my ways are for seeking sponsorship, and then you guys also directed some attention to the people to my right. So
well, listen, well, thank you, right? And we'll take your feedback in terms of how we move forward, but also, and I say this sincerely, especially to the boots on the ground organizations, right? We didn't invest it close, so we started off again with this body, millions of dollars, trying to be supportive of the groups. And I know it was asked earlier, are we supporting the groups that we give money to with the back office support? And from what I understand, there is a consultant working with the administration to help groups go to scale. So any way we could be supportive of their efforts, we will be. But most importantly, the work that y'all are doing means so much because y'all are on the ground in the neighborhoods, using y'all lived life experience to help our young people. And so whatever we can do, and it's a passion of mine, whatever I can do. And I'm giving Daryl Schuler a hard time, but we've been doing this, 20, 30 years, right? Put it down, peace not guns, going to schools. Yeah, since about 2000, 2003. I started my own program, Peace Not Guns, in 98. And so whatever we can do to be supportive. But with that being said, we thank you. For all the concerned residents, I'm going to turn the microphone back over to the host. I'm just here to participate. But we thank y'all for coming out. So I'm going to start with Councilmember Bass, and I'm going to turn over to Councilmember Jones, and we're going to take it home.
Thank you. I'm going to be brief. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Street, you want to say something?
Wanted to thank you all for coming out. It was very informative. To a lot of the folks who have been talking about the money around violence prevention programs and youth programs come up repeatedly. I know there have been a lot of frustrations at the state level with PCCD and their process. So I said it at one of the mayor's town hall meetings. I'll say it here. I am proposing, I know Representative Parker and is supporting that as well. We're proposing that the state carve out the PCCD money for Philly and let the city disperse it, because we believe it will get dispersed better that way. The city's process has been a lot more effective. It doesn't require you expend the money first. The state does reimbursement. And so we are suggesting that you all would do a better job of dispersing that money than we will. So we're trying to carve that out, Philadelphia portion, and let the city disperse it, as opposed to having it dispersed directly. And second thing, on minimum wage for folks out here, that's a state issue. We're fighting to get the minimum wage up. We think we get that as an issue. And on gun control, that's another thing that I don't think we're going to get done. But if we pick up 2 more senators, we might be able to get it done. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Senator. Listen, the night is long, and I know that most of you have been here for the entire evening. And I just really want to say thank you for coming. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So many faces I know. Hey, Linda, how are you? Northwest Neighbors of Germantown. I thought I was going to hear from you tonight. But I want to thank everybody from coming out, for being a part of the conversation, because this is so very important. So really just a big thank you. Thanks, Charles. Have a good night.